Down in South India, for centuries, this land was a battleground for two absolutely mighty dynasties. Their rivalry didn't just shape a region, it forged empires, built temples that will take your breath away, and carved out trade routes that span the entire known world. This is the incredible story of the Cholas and the Pandyas.
So let's just start with this question, right? What if an empire, a really powerful one, just vanished, disappeared from the history books for almost 600 years, only to come roaring back, stronger than ever, and build a massive maritime empire stretching all across Southeast Asia? And that's not some fantasy novel. That is the actual, incredible story of the Cholas. So how on earth did they pull that off? Well, our story really kicks off with their spectacular comeback. Okay, so if you look at this timeline, you can see the early Cholas were a big deal back in the Sangam age. But then, poof, for nearly 600 years, they just fade away, becoming these minor local chiefs. What happened? And more importantly, how did they return? The key is that year right there, 850 CE. A local Chola leader named Vijayalaya saw a massive opportunity. The Kaveri River Delta was basically having this huge agricultural boom, creating tons of wealth. He was smart. He harnessed that power, conquered the region, set up a new capital in Thanjavur, and just like that, the Cholas were back in business. But here's the thing. This new Chola kingdom wasn't just built on conquering territory. No, their real genius, the thing that made them so resilient, was their administration. They didn't try to rule every little thing with an iron fist from the capital. Instead, they pioneered this amazing system of local self-governance, giving villages and towns real, actual power over their own affairs. And this right here is a perfect example, the Kudavolai system. We know about this because of inscriptions found in the village of Uttaramerar. It was basically an election for local committees. They'd write the names of qualified candidates on these little palm leaf slips, put them all in a pot, and then a young boy would randomly draw out the winner. I mean, just think about that for a second. This is a form of lottery, basically, to ensure fairness in an election over 1,000 years ago. It's absolutely incredible. And this system managed everything, from local justice to managing the water supply. Okay, so this super efficient, localized administration, it was the perfect launchpad for the Cholas to hit their absolute peak. A true golden age of power, culture, and art, all spearheaded by one legendary king. So you might be asking, how do we know all these details? Well, the Cholas basically told us themselves. These guys were meticulous record keepers. They left behind more than 10,000 inscriptions on stone and on copper plates. That's not a typo. Over 10,000 of them. And these aren't just myths or legends. These are the real deal. Royal orders, land grants, tax records, giving us this incredible window into their world. And the king who really defined this whole era was the legendary Rajaraja I. He was a brilliant military commander, for sure, but his most lasting legacy is this architectural marvel, the Brihadishwarar Temple. And this thing, it wasn't just a temple. No, it was a massive statement, a symbol of Chola power, their immense wealth, and their divine right to rule. All right, let's geek out on the engineering here for a second. The main tower, the Vimana, shoots up 190 feet into the sky, and perched right on top is a single solid block of granite, the capstone that weighs 80 tons, an 80-ton single piece of rock. Seriously, how did they get an 80-ton rock up there 1,000 years ago? We still don't really know for sure. It's one of history's great engineering mysteries that still stumps people today. But their genius wasn't just about building these incredible structures that reached for the sky. It was also about something much more down to earth, but way more vital, water. They engineered this unbelievably complex network of canals and tanks and dams that turned the Kaveri Delta into the rice bowl of the entire South. It was so advanced that even the famous scholar Al-Biruni, who traveled all over, was just left in awe. He wrote that his own people couldn't even describe these systems, let alone dream of building them. So Rajaraja I laid this incredible foundation, but it was his son who was about to take everything his father built and just blast it into the stratosphere, taking Chola power across the seas and onto the world stage. And let me tell you, Rajendra I was, if you can believe it, even more ambitious than his dad. He marched his armies all the way north to the sacred river Ganges, a massive feat which earned him the title Gangai Kondan, literally the conqueror of the Ganges. But he didn't stop there. His most incredible move was a massive naval expedition across the Bay of Bengal, where he defeated the powerful Sri Vijaya kingdom in Sumatra. This gave him control of the key sea lanes and another epic title, Kada Ram Kondan, the conqueror of Kedah. So, the Cholas had reached the top of the world. For a while, they were the undisputed masters of southern India and the Indian Ocean. But you know how these stories go. No empire, no matter how great, lasts forever. And as their power started to fade, their oldest, most bitter rivals saw their chance. And this is where their oldest rivals, the Pandyas of Madurai, stepped back into the spotlight. For centuries, they've been kind of forced to live in the Cholas' shadow. But with the Cholas weakening, the Pandyas saw their moment, and they were about to build a very different kind of empire. You know, when the famous traveler Marco Polo showed up in the Pandya kingdom in the late 1200s, this is what he saw. See, unlike the Cholas, whose whole empire was built on land and farming, the Pandyas were all about global trade. Their port city of Kayal was this buzzing international hub, packed with ships from Arabia and China, connecting the entire known world. And the absolute cornerstone of this trade empire was one thing: war horses. The historian Wasaf tells us the Pandyas were importing a staggering 10,000 horses every single year from Arabia. And look at the cost, 220 gold dinars for a single horse. This wasn't just some luxury item. This was a massive, multi-million dinar industry run by powerful Arab merchants, and it was the absolute foundation of their military power. So right here, you can see the two playbooks side by side. It's super clear. The Cholas based their power on land, farming, and taxes, and they showed it off with these gigantic stone temples. The Pandyas, their power came from the sea, from international trade, and they showed it off with rich, bustling port cities. Two completely different ways to build an empire. The Pandyas were now on top. They were the premier Tamil dynasty. Their ports were overflowing with gold from trade. But in a classic twist of fate, their biggest threat wasn't going to be some invading army. Nope, it was going to come from inside their own house. And here's where it all goes wrong. The Pandya downfall starts with one of the oldest stories in the book, a nasty fight between two brothers over the throne. King Maravarman Kulasakaran had two sons, Sundara Pandyan and Veera Pandyan, and his decision on who should succeed him would turn out to be absolutely fatal for the entire kingdom. And this timeline just shows how shockingly fast everything fell apart. The family feud explodes into a full-blown civil war. It gets so bad that Veera Pandyan actually murders his own father to grab the throne. His brother, Sundara, defeated and desperate, then made a fateful, just catastrophic decision. He runs north to the powerful Delhi Sultanate and literally begs them for help to get his throne back. He basically invited the wolf right into the sheepfold. And the invasion was an absolute catastrophe. The Sultanate's general Malik Kafur didn't just come to help, he came to plunder. He completely sacked the Pandya capital of Madurai, tore down its temples, and carried away a treasure hoard so vast it's hard to even imagine. We're talking over 500 elephants, 5,000 horses, and so many jewels they stopped counting and just started measuring them in mounds. The Pandyan kingdom was completely shattered, and with it, the great age of these powerful southern empires came to a violent, bloody end. So after all that, what are we left with? You have two incredible rival empires that took two totally different paths to power. The Cholas, who were masters of the land, leaving behind these epic stone temples that still defy belief. And the Pandyas, masters of the sea, who connected southern India to the whole world through trade. Their kingdoms are long gone, but their legacies in art, in engineering, in commerce, they're still with us. It really makes you think, which legacy has had the more lasting impact? What do you think?